Welcome to Audiobook 365 Stories.
Hester's trip was really nice. She liked the kind old ladies who took care of her. She felt a bit like a hero when she shared some of her problems with them. Their happy talk about school made her realize that there might be good things ahead, even though she had been worried about her future before. But during the 2.5-mile ride from Sefton to Lavender House, Hester started feeling worried again. The Mrs. Bruce went with other people in a small bus to their house in town, but Lavender House was farther away, so Hester had to go alone. A fancy carriage, owned by Mrs. Willis, came to pick her up. A man named Thomas helped Hester put her trunk and bag on the top of the carriage. Hester rode by herself, with an old horse pulling the carriage slowly up and down the hilly roads. It was a cold winter day, and by the time Thomas finished some errands in Sefton and they arrived at the gates of Lavender House, it was almost dark. Hester felt scared of the darkness, and when a boy closed the gates behind them, she started to feel like she was going to a scary place, like a prison. They drove slowly along a long, curvy road, and even though Hester couldn't see, she knew they were passing under trees because she heard branches hitting the roof of the carriage. Finally, they stopped. The old servant got down from his seat and opened the carriage door, offering his hand to help Hester get out. "Come on, Missy," he said cheerfully. "Step out and you'll warm up in no time. It's a very cold night, poor little miss." He rang a bell by the porch, and a maid opened the wide hall door. Hester stepped inside. "She's here," said several voices from different places. Hester looked around, a little surprised, but she only saw the maid, who smiled and said, "Welcome to Lavender House, miss. Please come into the porter's room for a moment. There's a nice fire there, and I'll let Miss Danesbury know you've arrived." The porter's room was on the right side of a big, cheerful hall. The hall was decorated with light green colors and had a nice tile floor. A big fire and 2 lamps made the hall look cozy, but Hester was happy to be in the small porter's room away from the unfamiliar voices. She felt shy, cold, and really wanted to be back with Nan. As she waited for Miss Danesbury and worried about who she was, the fire didn't make her feel much better. Then, someone spoke behind her. Hester turned around in fear and saw a tall, kind lady and a bright, gypsy-looking girl. "Annie Forrest, it's naughty to hide behind the door. You didn't ask to come in here. I have to tell on you, dear. You'll lose 2 good behavior points and probably get extra French homework," said the lady. "But she won't tell on me. Will you, Danesbury?" "You're too kind," said the girl. She kissed Miss Danesbury and then ran off. Miss Danesbury turned to Hester, whose face had turned pale during the whole thing. "What a rude girl," said Miss Danesbury angrily. Hester had never heard someone say mean things like that in front of them before. "I hope she gets punished. I hope you won't forgive her," she continued, still angry. "Oh, my dear, we should all forgive," said Miss Danesbury gently. "Welcome to Lavender House, love. I'm sorry I wasn't in the hall to meet you. If I was, this wouldn't have happened. Annie Forrest didn't mean any harm. She's a lively girl, but she's kind. You and her will be great friends soon. Now, let me take you to your room. Tea will be ready in 5 minutes, and I'm sure you'll be hungry. Miss Danesbury took Hester across the hall and up some big, soft stairs. They stopped on a nice landing. "Do you see this green door, dear?" said Miss Danesbury. "This is the school part of the house. Only Mrs. Willis's side. The girls can't come here without permission. School life happens on the other side of this door, and it's a happy life for those who are brave and good. Now, give me a kiss, dear, and let me welcome you again to Lavender House." "Are you the main teacher here?" asked Hester. "Oh no, my dear. I teach English to younger kids and make sure everyone is happy. I'm very helpful and kids often come to me when they need help. But let's not talk anymore. Take my hand and let's go to your room quickly." Miss Danesbury opened the green door, and suddenly Hester was in a different part of the house. Mrs. Willis's part felt warm, fancy, and elegant. On the other side of the door were long, narrow hallways with white floors and cold walls. Miss Danesbury held Hester's hand and led her down 2 hallways, passing many closed doors where Hester could hear laughter and talking. Finally, they stopped at a door with the number 32 on it. "This is your room, dear," said Miss Danesbury. "Tonight you'll have it all to yourself. Mrs. Willis got a message from your roommate, Susan Drummond, saying she'll arrive tomorrow." Even though the hallways looked bare and chilly, Hester's bedroom was nothing like that. It was a small but nicely decorated room. The floor had green carpet, and the window had pretty curtains. There were 2 narrow white beds with fancy covers. All the furniture was small but good quality. There were wooden drawers next to each bed, marble sinks in 2 corners, and 2 nice dressing tables near the window. But what made Hester happiest was the small, bright fire in the fireplace. "Now, dear, this is your room. Since you're the first to arrive, you can pick which bed and drawers you want. Ah, Ellen has opened your bag. She'll unpack it tonight and take it to the storage room. Now, dear, fix your hair and wash your hands. The bell will ring soon. I'll come get you when it does."